people coming to us. We have some great kind of wins under our belt in terms of helping people sell. So people are coming in, and there's a whole variety. You see these unbelievable high cash flow businesses that are owner operated, where the owner is not extremely involved. It has no website, no marketing, and is pulling in a couple $100,000 in cash flow a year.
All right, this is another episode of the Form Your Own Pack podcast from Founders Pack. My guest today is Morgan Tate from Dealbuilder.co. And I don't know if you refer to as Dealbuilder or Dealbuilder.co. Which one would it be?
I would usually just go with Dealbuilder, but you got to be clear to make sure it's not a .com, it's a .co.
Doesn't hurt, right?
Yeah.
So for people that don't know, who, first of all, is Morgan Tate?
Yeah, so I'm actually born and raised here in Victoria, British Columbia, Canada. That's where we started the company, and that's where we're currently located. I grew up here and then did the business program at UVic, and kind of quickly found that my dreams of becoming a lawyer were not actually what I wanted to do, and got pulled into entrepreneurship pretty quickly. And I got involved in a business brokerage because I thought, what a better way to learn about businesses than trying to sell them, and realized that there was a really broken ecosystem in that industry, which is what was the impetus to starting Dealbuilder, which is our small business marketplace. It's an online marketplace to buy and sell Main Street, mom and pop, brick and mortar, whatever you want to call it, businesses.
Oh, very interesting. Okay, so what sort of businesses are typically on there when you say like Main Street sort of businesses?
Yeah, so anything from your like HVAC, the local coffee shop, bakery, to we had a business that specialized in cleaning garbage totes and recycling totes. We've also had e-commerce companies, kind of everything in between. Where we mostly focus is on the businesses that I guess are in the tangible physical world more so than the digital world. So we don't take on micro SaaS companies or things like that. There's lots of great solutions for those companies out there.
So, I mean, it sounds like you're right on the front lines if that's the sort of businesses you have of what's going on. And, those are usually a pretty interesting litmus. Like, what are you seeing out there from companies that are they coming to you? Or are you approaching them? Like, how do they find out about Dealbuilder, and then what happens after that?
Yeah, we're just starting to get to the stage where we're starting to get a bit more inbound than kind of outbound when you're building that marketplace. I think the analogy is it's like pushing a rock up the hill for a very long time. And I think we're still pushing that rock, but we're getting kind of close at least to the crest of the hill. So a lot of the time we were kind of reaching out, letting people know. And now we're getting people coming to us. We have some great kind of wins under our belt in terms of helping people sell. So people are coming in, and there's a whole variety. You see these unbelievable high cash flow businesses that are owner operated, where the owner is not extremely involved. It has no website, no marketing, and is pulling in a couple $100,000 in cash flow a year. So there's lots of great stuff out there, and now we're just trying to pull those into an actual marketplace because a lot of them don't even realize they can sell.
Have you been tempted to buy any of the businesses that list on Dealbuilder?
Yes. Yeah, I have a couple right now that I would certainly, if I wasn't 100%, maybe 110% focused on building this company, I would definitely look at for sure.
So then the model for you as a marketplace, like what's the typical, like what's the business model for you guys? Are you revenue based on the sale? Or are you based upon listing? Like what's the model there?
Yeah, so we take a percentage of every transaction. So we have two sides to our marketplace, both a broker side that brokers can white label to use our platform as their back office. And so we take a very small piece in exchange. So we're in kind of complete alignment in terms of a goal with them. They don't pay any SaaS or monthly or setup fees. It's just purely on success. And then for our do-it-yourself kind of businesses, which either are smaller or they don't fit the full service brokerage model, we take a bit of a higher percentage, up to 3% of the asking price. So it's a flat fee model, only payable on success.
Very interesting. All right. So then when you were building, is this your first iteration of the product? And what was kind of the key takeaways from building that product? When I say product, marketplace.
Yeah, it's definitely not the first iteration. I'd say maybe it's the 100th iteration of the same kind of idea. We did a lot of kind of pivoting as our background. My co-founders and I have been in the business brokerage industry. One of my co-founders for 17 years. I've been in for 3.5 years. So we had a pretty good idea of what the problems were, but this was kind of a new solution to solve those problems. So we tried everything from just having a monthly listing price on the business model to having a flat fee up front, and eventually settled on the percentage. And the reason why was that we found users and owners wanted to have full support throughout the sale process, or at least close to as full support as they can get. And they were much more comfortable paying more on success. So they wanted that incentive alignment. So the original version was very basic. It just printed out a PDF version of the presentation. And now we have an online presentation with metrics and analytics and a whole bunch of bells and whistles built in.
So what sort of advice would you have for anyone that's starting out, that's a founder? What's if you only offer one piece of advice to other founders, what would that be?
Yeah, I would say listen to your customers, but be strategic with the customer feedback that you're getting. I think sometimes we were maybe a little bit quick to change paths in the early stages because a broker who might have an old school way of approaching a problem would say, yeah, that doesn't work, that doesn't make sense. When, if you broaden the aperture of your search, you'll realize that if you spoke to 50 instead of 30 brokers, you'll realize that maybe 40 are in agreement and that the first 10 that you spoke to were just maybe not your core customer. So you have to be very careful with the sampling bias you might get when you're doing that, customer research. But you definitely want to take feedback and don't think you're the smartest person in the room and that you're always right. So it's kind of a difficult balancing act, but I think something that we've kind of started to develop better over time.
That's excellent. That's great advice. What role have either partnerships or community been in your success with DealBuilder? Sorry, I always use the broker word.
No problem. Yeah. So on the partnership side, we've actually had we've really actually grown via partnership. So we partner with brokers, one to white label their deals and let them use our platform is the one side. But we actually have a referral model. So if they have clients that aren't a good fit for their practice, they can send deals to our do-it-yourself side of the platform. We'll help those sellers sell their business and we'll pay them a referral fee when it closes. And why this is beneficial is that currently brokers are taking, let's just say it's a small town coffee shop, it's not a good fit for them. They'll just kind of refer them out into the ether, take what you will and go on Craigslist and Facebook and try your best to sell it. Whereas now they have a place to send them, to help them, but they can also earn a little bit of money doing that. So that's been really great for our growth. And then on the community side, we have an exit planning community. So an online community for business owners looking to sell. And that's been really great because they get a free valuation, annual valuation as a part of that. And we've gotten a couple of really high quality leads that found our community, read some of the resources we have in there, and then booked a call and now we're looking to sell. So it's been a great benefit for us and useful for owners as well if they're not quite ready to sell.
That's excellent. I was going to ask you about, and this is obviously very specific to you. Is there opportunity, do you think, in the future, or are you already doing this around, for example, ancillary services, like maybe it's financing, for example? Like you see that a lot of these SaaS marketplaces where now they're either bringing in or they're adding a financing product. Is that something that you think makes sense for you? Like how are people usually financing these sort of acquisitions?
Yeah, so on the small business front, there is the SBA program in the States is what most people are familiar with. So it's really great because you can get sometimes up to 90% loan to value to acquire a business. Wow. And that remaining 10% is a combination of seller financing, cash, and investor money. So you can really buy really strong cash flow businesses for very little money down. I wish we had the program in Canada because it's so strong. And what the benefit with on the SBA program is that the banks, it's very competitive. So the banks will actually pay a referral fee if you send them a buyer that gets financing to buy a business. So it's definitely something that we were exploring and hope to bring on. And then other services like legal. There's lots of online legal marketplaces,
Good
and most
point. I
people
didn't think
don't
of that.
have a M&A lawyer or a transactional lawyer. So many people need a referral there. And all the other components of a deal, there's a lot of costs that will go into an M&A deal. So there's lots of room to help people save money, but also make money at the same time too.
It's such an interesting space. And I think we've seen some kind of influencers take this bent, one being Codie Shanchez, for example, like where she's done a great job of highlighting everything from laundromats to, well, I like the HVAC thing you mentioned. I'm curious about that, but I feel like a lot of people have HVAC businesses and their kids don't want it.
Yeah, the problem with some of those categories, like HVAC was one, pest control, and a few others, and vet clinics was another one, is that you'll have these private equity groups that come in and roll up. So by purchasing multiple and bundling them together. And the problem with what that happens is that now everybody thinks HVACs are an amazing category to be involved in, and the multiples are really high. So they're very expensive businesses to purchase. So if you're not planning on growing it significantly, it's going to take you a very long time for your investment to make sense. So you have to be careful with hot topics, and the owners start to get to know that. They're like, hey, I have a buddy that sold his business for 20 times EBITDA. Well, that's great. That might not be, that might be the outlier, right? It might have been a reason. So you just have to be careful with those type of categories.
20 times EBITDA, that's like a gold mine business to sell. That's crazy.
Yeah, well, if the EBITDA is $100, then maybe that's why. But there's it's all relative. But yeah, you'll hear those stories from my buddy, and you're like, okay, is that true or what? So
I'm no finance expert, but that sounds pretty good if that's actually the number.
Yes, it's very good.
Well, Morgan, I want to be conscious of your time. Is there anything we haven't touched on that you think is important for people to know?
No, I think that if you have a uncle, aunt, niece, nephew who's looking to buy a business or needs to sell a business and doesn't know where to turn, we have a great pool of resources that we can help them with, either through our platform or one of our brokerage partners. And we're just trying to make it easier and making the marketplace more liquid. And I appreciate you having me on.
I love it. All right. So final two things. How do people get in touch with you?
Yeah, so I'm on LinkedIn, Morgan Tate, or Twitter, Morgan Tate with an underscore, or you can email me at morgan@dealbuilder.co.
Amazing. All right. The final thing is, when we have interesting people on the Form Your Own Pack podcast, we like you to nominate other interesting people. Typically, we talk to either founders or investors in scalable startups. So who would you, Morgan, like to nominate as a future guest?
Rob Fraser from Outweigh Apparel. He is a great founder, bootstrapped to a really large scale and sold socks from being a professional mountain biker and cyclist.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he built it all in college. So he's a great story.
Oh, that's amazing. All right. And you know Rob, I guess?
Yes. Yeah,
awesome.
Know Rob really well.
All right, Rob Fraser, you've been nominated as a future guest of the Form Your Own Pack podcast. We look forward to having that introduction. Morgan, thanks for joining me. Oh, and I will mention that I'm going to invite you to our new Intros by Founders Pack. This is an automated introduction service where every week it'll invite people to opt in and have a meeting set up by AI matching with either founders or investors who are also members of Founders Pack. So I'd like to send that invite out to you, and I hope you get to join us on there and meet some other people.
It sounds great.
Thank you very much. Look forward to following your journey.
Thanks so much.